Good evening. My name is Brother Pete Marcelana.
And I'm Gabe Balmorez.
We are both proud members of the General Douglas MacArthur Lodge number 853, and we welcome you to tonight's special presentation. Tonight, we have the honor of introducing our worshipful master, Elway Balmorez. Elway has almost a decade of Masonic service where he has served in almost every office of our Masonic Lodge. He is married and has 2 children. He's a registered nurse, and he is one of the most down-to-earth and loving men that we have in California Masonry today.
Thank you.
Facts.
Thank you. Thank you for having me tonight, and it's a pleasure to be here. It's a privilege to be here. Those are really kind words from you guys, but I don't think it's all too true.
Well, we appreciate you coming down here tonight, and so I know you've been really busy, kind of doing what we do as Masons and changing the world one kind of step at a time. And you recently returned from the Philippines on a medical mission, and so we'd love to hear about your experience and what you did, and fill us in.
Yeah. So we just we were there for almost a month, about 3.5 weeks, and for GDML, the last time we did this was in the 2019 with Worshipful Robert Bondoc. He was able to go back to his province in Nueva Ecija and help a lot of people out there.
Nice.
Ever since then, I had the kind of goal to do this on if I had the chance to be the master on my term, to help out with the Philippines as well. I was born here, right? I was born in Santa Cruz. I was raised there until about 6th grade, and then I moved to San Francisco. But for me, I was lucky enough. My mom worked in the airline business, so every vacation, extended vacation, spring break, Christmas, or summer, I was able to go back to Philippines for free.
Nice.
Right? We just paid for the taxes.
Yeah.
And so I really call Philippines home. And my mom and my dad are from Pampanga, and I went to college in Angeles City. So it's really near and dear to my heart, the Philippines and the people there. Having been immersed in the culture for such a long time, you know what they go through, how much a dollar goes versus here, and just the lifestyle and the culture over there. So we were able to go back through the efforts of a lot of the Kuyangs and GDML. Even last year, we headed a golf tournament with all the proceeds that were going to be used for the medical mission, and then this year we held another golf tournament to help facilitate the needs for the people. And we went back, took my wife and my kids, and there was about 9 Kuyangs. Even one entered apprentice who went down.
Oh, wow.
Shout out Kuyang Philip.
Nice.
He went back, and he was able to help out.
He's a good bro, for sure.
And we helped 2 institutions. One that housed abandoned children, with the majority of them with cerebral palsy and mental disabilities. The other with an elderly community that are abandoned too, with no place to go, no place to live, and no one to take care of.
Wow.
So we kind of split our funds into 2, and we bought them essential goods from non-perishable goods, rice, of course, new mattresses, some things that we don't really think of, but in a tropical, humid place like the Philippines, they've been using the mattresses for such a long time, and some of them have accidents, right? So
sure.
They just wipe and clean, but the kind of smell and kind of,
Did you have those shipped, or did you order them?
No,
or?
we took all the funds back cash, and then we bought everything in the Philippines because it was 10 times cheaper.
Right.
Nice. We also bought, hygienic supplies,
Mm-hmm.
everything that you can think of, and we gave them to the 2 institutions, and they were so grateful. You could see it in their eyes and their shoulders that a weight has been lifted off them, and it just feels good. Like you give back to someone, and I don't know. It's the feeling of charity goes such a long way.
Right. And so, was there like a big reception towards Masonry there? Like, how big is Masonry in Pampanga in the Philippines?
In the Philippines, Masonry is huge.
Right.
Okay. Where we went, These institutions are funded 100% through volunteers. They don't get any government assistance or even from the church, even if they're kind of headed by the church, quote unquote. So they depend on 100% volunteers. And there are several Masonic lodges around the world who even help with these kind of institutions. And it isn't, they're not really geared towards one set of people receiving, they accept from everyone. But the group, the Masons in Philippines, the way that they're able to gather themselves and just collect resources from wherever they're from and to donate is huge. They have a lot of power. They have a lot of just say in how they can grab or collect materials or goods or anything like that, and just on a dime, like a truckload of supplies can just be there at any given time. Yeah.
Well, and KP, I'm just going to ask maybe another question as well, as far as I'm curious, because I've always been very fascinated by the caliber of brothers in the Philippines. Here in California Masonry, there is, I think, I'm not sure what the percentage is, but I know that percentage, although small, is super powerful.
Yeah.
Because of the culture and the tradition that it brings to Masonry. I heard a podcast that said, like, Masonry is inherently Filipino, right? And like, and I don't know, that kind of resonated with me because it's so much of the culture, just because of the loving kind of characteristics that the culture has. So I'm curious, when we talk about the influential men in Masonry in the Philippines, how we can, I've heard stories, some of our brothers get down there and, Brother Pat Nubay, he was escorted by the police general.
Yeah.
What's the pipeline of Masonry there as opposed to here? Or what is the pipeline of Masonry in the Philippines?
I think Masonry in the Philippines has been ingrained in the culture since the foundation of our country. Like the founding fathers in America were Masons too, but also the founding fathers in Philippines were Masons as well. The Filipino flag, to a lot of the symbolism in Philippines is Masonic in nature. It's like
It's like an apron.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah. You can really look, if you turn it to the side, it looks like an apron, right? Yeah. And a Master Mason's apron too.
Yeah.
Right. So the culture, I think what you were talking about with the brothers, even past officers or even figures, head figures in public offices, I think it's just our culture to respect people that have done it, or seniority. You're elderly. It's highly disrespectful for not to have any respect towards those people, and it's just like the lore of I know it's just a culture, right? It's
And there's also, we have Dr. Jose Rizal, which is part of the hero of the country, and he's also a Mason. It's not taught like that in the history, but there's that heroic martyrdom. He wrote some famous books, right? That
El Fili.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So if you can kind of express or share a little bit more about him to our viewers who don't know who that is. If you could give us a quick kind of recap of who that is.
I didn't come prepared for that. But
Sure, no.
Yeah. So basically, Dr. Rizal wrote some books during the Spanish colony, and it's pretty much part of the revolution when they started.
Got it.
He was like not a silent protester. He was anti-Spanish government before, and the way he did it was through his knowledge and his kind of silent voice. He wrote books about it that portrayed scenarios of just the regular Filipino and how the Spanish colonization kind of did its thing towards the traditional Philippines, right?
And it's international because during and after the Spanish-American War, that's when the handover from the Spanish to the American, because they won the war, right?
Right.
And
I've been going into deep wormholes regarding colonization and everything.
Wow.
I think that's ready for a different podcast.
Sure.
Exactly.
But you could tell like how far back Masonry goes, right, and how ingrained it is.
Very influential.
Reason I mentioned him because it's the influence in the Philippine history and the respect for Dr. Jose Rizal was really ingrained into
And we
Embedded,
share the
yeah.
same respect
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
you know past masters,
Right. Well, and-
any public figure
For sure.
I mean, even your mom or your dad, you regard them as the highest kind of person in the family.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
there's no ounce of whatever in your blood that would, you know, you look down or it's
Right.
it's just part of the culture. Like even you, past master for how many years with masonry, in my eyes, you'll always be worshipful. You know.
And I feel the same way about you. And it's so interesting that that part of masonry, like, it seems like the Philippines know like masonry is a very serious and important thing, very influential organization for the benefit that it does to the entire community and world.
Right.
I think that sometimes, and I love California masonry, forgets that or doesn't necessarily highlight that. We have members in California masonry today who are making some big changes in the world. You, for instance, right? And so, like, masonry tends to hang on to some of our historical factors, and part of the reason why we're here tonight is to say, like, we have living history today going on. So yeah. Again, thank you for coming on, and yeah. So pass it right on over to you, Brother Pete.
Yes. Looks like we have some very important questions for Worshipful L here.
Shoot him.
So tell us, how long have you been involved with Freemasonry, and what initially drew you to the fraternity?
Well, I was initiated in 2013, and passed. I was at the end of the year 2013, and I was passed in 2014. And then, just because of the nature of the lodge back then, with Worshipful Ed Kagampan, Worshipful Jerry Versosa, they had so many candidates, so many EAs and fellow crowds that and raising Master Masons. Their schedules were insane. So I was kind of an applicant, and I had to wait my turn, right? As everyone does.
So, sorry, really quickly before that. So, because GDML was established in 2011, right?
2010.
2010. So, like, so that pipeline of Masons. So, I'm just trying to fill everyone in. So, the lodge just started, 2 or 3 years prior to you knocking on the door. So, there was a lot of moving pieces going on, and the zeal, and there's a lot of excitement going on. And so, like, when people are kind of knocking at the doors, like, there was a little bit of a wait. So, sorry, please carry on.
Yeah, I heard stories then that where she had Kadampan on his term, they had to do rituals and proficiencies on the weekend, just to facilitate and just kind of lessen the burden of the degrees during the year.
Yeah.
But I was caught in the tail end of that, so I had to wait quite a while to step in.
How long were you in that pipeline for?
Oh, almost. I don't know if it was a year or less than a year, but it was pretty long.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, are they throwing me for the roundabout? Making sure that I'm, fit or worthy of this.
Yeah. That's a big thing in masonry, right? Like, because I know we've all been vetted at some point to where the question is, like, is this brother worthy, right? To carry on our tradition and our legacy of who we are as a lodge and who we are as Masons. Like, do we want to put that brand on anybody that's out there? Like, no, the answer, like, we have to make sure that they're the right men. They're the men who we can depend on.
Right. And on a side note, jump in years after, this was even when Worshipful Robert Bondoc and Worship Kim, up until Worship Ed Caballero, your last guest, the topic was always quality over quantity, right?
Yeah.
If I'm going to bring a brother into the lodge, can I have dinner with you? Am I going to have you meet my wife and my kids? If I talk about you to another person, is that ever going to backfire to me?
Yeah.
If your car broke down and you asked me can I borrow your car for a week, go ahead, do it. Would I do that for you? Like, just simple things like that.
Right. But that's uncommon in today's world, right? Like, I have plenty of colleagues at work, and we all do, but it's like at 5 o'clock, like, those colleagues they're gone, right? And like, as opposed to a brother, like, I know that you and I text all the time, Pete, and like, I'm always kind of picking your brain, and so, and masonry doesn't have those boundaries, and it's beautiful that we can call ourselves brothers, because, like, that's what we are. Yeah. Like, if my brothers need anything, like, we'll be there.
I'm down.
Yeah, I'm down.
I'll be down. I mean, I know this is we try to keep this podcast as modern as possible. There might be some fellows out there that he's a young buck. What does he know? What is he talking about? Right?
Yeah.
But you got to be down.
Yeah.
I mean,
For sure.
all the way around.
Yeah.
And it's not just a 9 to 5 Freemasonry thing. It's you're in it to win it.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know what else to say about that, but that's the truth.
Yeah.
And then the lodge, that's why, you know, if we bring someone in, are they going to be worthy to receive the degrees of masonry?
Mm-hmm.
If they receive the degrees of masonry and the person who vouched for this person, and if they just gone up and disappear, then that person is going to be, you know, not shamed, but you know, the credibility is going to be like, hey, you brought this guy into the lodge.
Because we're all individual brands. I guess I should say we're brand ambassadors of masonry, right? But like, you know, we all have love to our mother lodge, I guess you could call it, or the lodge that we affiliate with, or so it's I understand it, and that's one thing that I love about General Douglas MacArthur 853 is that it's like it's taken seriously, like you know, like you got to know who we are, and
so that was my mentality. I was like, man, I'm getting the runaround or something. So I eventually got raised, and
sorry, I have a quick question on that. So, were you inquiring for like how to apply, and then they were just kind of just come back, kind of?
Yeah, my then the person I was curious with masonry about was Worshipful Eric Koskaway. Right? We were actually worked for the same company, and my wife and him were on the same team. So. I saw his car and I was like, hey, I saw the square and compass. I was like, man, that's it right there. That's a sign, right? So we eventually, you know, the application, I came to a couple state meetings, introduced myself. You know, the uncomfortableness of being at their first stated meeting and introduce yourself.
Right.
And, man, I'm looking like a fool over here. What am I doing, right? But it's that kind of first date orientation feeling that, you know, you have and every brother goes through.
Yeah. Right, exactly. I mean, because at this point in life, as men, we understand that like we have not just the choice but the responsibility to surround ourselves with men who will add value to our lives, who will take care of your family if you are, you know, you're gone or you need something like that. Those are the people. So we have that responsibility to ourselves and then to the people around ourselves. You know, like I wouldn't invite anybody over unless I knew.
They're good peoples.
They're good peoples.
Yeah.
Right? It's beautiful, man. That's how it should be. That's how it should be.
Bottom line.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
And so I guess as the position of worshipful master, obviously, as you know, is a very sacred office.
Yeah.
It's one that demands the highest standards of value in philosophy. And so I guess the question is walk us through your journey from that conversation that you first had with somebody, you know, as steward, to kind of bring you in the line. Before I say that, or before you answer that, if I could say that Worshipful Cascayuela is somebody who I've always personally admired, him and the Robert Boondock and you know,
solid
Kim,
people.
all
Solid
those
people.
dudes. Like I was like, oh man. So when I first met, like I'm still nervous around that guy because he's such.
I'll be nervous too, man.
Right? Like, so when I came in with a petition, I was like, man, like these are the guys that I want to be like, man, and I just hope that they receive this well, right? Like, and so, but those are good. But is a testament to vetting correctly, right? It's to take it seriously, like because those guys, I'll make everybody a key to the house right now, and anytime I'm gone, use the pool, you know. So, but yeah, so. Going back, so yeah, if you want to take us through that step from those conversations, like how did it happen?
So I was raised already, and I was on the sidelines. I was practicing. I was, you know, filling in during practice with, you know, the junior officer works, and Worshipful Nolan Parisa was the master that year or coming, and he asked me if I wanted to be the assistant secretary, and I said, what does that entail? You know, what are my obligations? What are my responsibilities? And you know, it required me to attend practices and stated meetings and degrees, and to be the substitute if the secretary is not there, or if a steward or marshal is gone, I'd be able to jump in and kind of help out with the degree works. And that kind of progressed every year, right? From I was the assistant secretary, and then I moved to the marshal, and then the senior and junior stewards, and then someone left the line, and I was able to go from senior steward to senior deacon, and then all the way up to 3 lights. Wow. But I remember there was a time where there was a doubt in my mind, like, am I going to continue the officers lineup? And Worship Eric came up. We were playing around the golf. And I mean, and I said, I don't know. I call him Koi. In Filipino, we call each other Kuya, older brother. But in Pampanga, it's so Koya. So I always call him Koi. I was like, I don't know if I want to progress in the line. And I think I was a senior steward then, going to the senior deacon. And he was like, don't embarrass me.
Dang.
Straight up.
Dang, that's how to do it.
Yeah. But not in like kinder words, like, you know.
But that's older brother love, though.
Yeah.
That's older brother love. That's like no, you know what? You can have your reservations, but I see your potential, and you're gonna suck it up because you're the right person for this job. And if he put his signature on it, like that's trust in you.
Yeah.
Like and obviously, like as you've gone, like that's the lodge trusting you to go to that next position.
Yeah.
You know, even for Worshie Nolan, who I also admire very much, for
Yeah.
him to be like, I'm going to put him here and have him be flexible was a smart move.
You know, I mean, in GDML, I can't speak for the other lodges, right? But in GDML, if you're in the lineup, it's like there's no jumping off. You're going to progress all the way. And if you want to jump out, there is 10 dudes who are ready and willing to grab that chair
Spot,
and just roll with it. Right?
I love that.
Yeah. But Worshie Eric, you know, we had a little talk, and he talked me into it, and that's why, you know, whenever we have a chance to talk, and I say, this is your fault, man.
It's a big responsibility. It's a big responsibility to be the worship master.
He just laughs at it, you know. He's like, yeah.
Well, it's also a rite of passage, right? So to me, like, working in the line of masonry, and I say the line as in the officers' chairs, like, for instance, you know, Pete is our secretary, and he's somebody who, like, I fully endorse and support as secretary because he's the guy for the job, right? And then, like, but once you're in those positions, it's almost a real-time MBA program because you have to influence, you have to inspire, you have to get all these people to do a lot of business things that people pay a lot of money to do, and we get to learn that here in Lodge. And it's like, how do you bring an all-volunteer organization together to fund a mission in the Philippines? That takes some talent, bro. Like, that takes some talent.
Coordination.
Right, coordination. Like, that's an MBA program. So,
but Queen Pete and Queen Allenbert, secretary and treasurer, those are roles in the lodge that don't really get the limelight, right? But they do a tremendous amount of work that doesn't get kind of the notoriety or just the kind of the acknowledgement that they deserve. So I always say thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you. Queen Allenberg, he's not here. I think he's in the Philippines right now doing his own, like, you know, thing. He's a teacher too, summer break, so he's definitely he needs that break for sure. But they do a lot of work in the lodge that don't get a lot of recognition, but deserve it.
Yeah. And the beautiful thing is, like, I've never, you hear a lot of these stories about secretaries who are very, I'm the secretary, this is how it's going to be. And the poor worship master, you know, after 1 year, you know, 6 months into it, and he's like, okay, well, that's how it's supposed to be. Yeah. But, like, the support staff that you have, you know, between Pete and Allenbert, like, the humility that's there and, like, the support, like, that's another thing that I want to scream at the mountaintops. Like, this is how, when a lodge is functioning so smoothly, this is how it should look. It shouldn't be a secretary saying, I have the power. Because at the end of the day, it's the worshipful master who's been nominated and elected and trusted to take that chair and the responsibilities to make those difficult decisions, right? Or to make those great decisions. Right. Like, it's not, the commitment level is so, that's why I'm saying it's probably the best real-time life experience that anybody can have, and why I'm such a big proponent of Freemasonry is because it really teaches a man how to be a man, right? It at least gives you the fundamentals and the support structure to get there, because you're surrounding yourselves with amazing people who are like, this is what we should do. So anyways, that was Hiram in the background. So
shout out Hiram.
But sorry, I get long-winded. Yeah.
All right. next question here, Virtual.
Yeah.
So, what do you consider to be the most essential qualities of a worshipful master? And can you give us some examples of your leadership style and how it's working for you right now?
Right.
Yeah.
So, being the master this year, I was able to kind of learn firsthand from all the past masters before me. Where she James, where she Ed, where she Kim during the pandemic, and where she Robert before that. I mean, all the past, where she Albert, and go down the line, where she Eric, where she Nolan, where she Albert. I mean, where she
All-star
Elmer.
list. All-star list of guys.
All-star.
Yeah.
All-star cast, right?
Yeah.
And during my installation, I told them, I looked at each one of them when I was standing in the east. I was like, a little portion of you is ingrained in me, and it will make me the master that I am this year. All the best qualities that I can look at each one of these guys, I try to apply it. And I think being the master this year, if I put in NBA terms, basketball terms, right, there's two type of coaches. The management coach, where the management upstairs, he's the yes man, right? He's able to do everything. Hey, do this, do that. Okay, okay, yes sir, yes ma'am, whatever. And there's a player's coach.
Yeah.
I'm more of the player's coach. And being that I will listen to my officers and my kind of the Knights of the Round Table. I call it my Knights of the Round Table.
I like that.
Influential Masons, past masters who I keep near and dear to myself.
Yeah.
And I ask them, hey, am I doing this right? Or I listen to everyone, and all of their opinions matter. And then with those opinions, I try to make the best decision. And I think that each master does that in their term, in their own ways. But it's just easier for me because, you know, I'm around basketball a lot, so I listen to all the players.
Yeah.
And that's what I think that's what makes me a more likable, or more I don't know how to put it into words, but like I'm the people's coach, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
For sure. And that's another great attribute that we learn as Masons as well, is to understand that although you might be put in a position of great responsibility, that you're also humble enough to know, like I knew as a worshipful master, like I don't know all that about the ins and outs of investment. I don't know all the ins and outs about social media. I don't know all the ins and outs about taxes, but I know the right guys that do know that.
Sure.
And I'm going to put those guys in those positions, and whatever they recommend, because I trust them and because the lodge trusts them, is going to be the answer. So
Right.
that's another kind of, again, testimony of what Masonry kind of develops you as a person and as a man. And I know right now we're doing the I Am a Mason campaign from Most Worshipful Randy Brill. And I'm probably going to, do a quick video just to be like, hey, here's who we are. But this is exactly real time for anybody listening. Like, what is Masonry?
This is great.
This is what Masonry is supposed to be. No, it's all good. So it's supposed to be us learning and growing and like becoming better men for society, not just for society, for our family, for our kids, for our wives. Like all the lessons that we were taught, all the allegory that's in there, like everything we do, Masonry helps you understand that. And like when you talk about self-improvement, it doesn't have the answers, but it has the tools, right? And it's up to you to work those tools. So for anybody that is a man between the ages, and they say 18, but if you're interested at 18, great, come along, check us out.
You got a lot of life to live.
You got a lot of life to live. And so I think the men who we're looking for are those, the young to mid 30s, they already have their kind of career established, or at least have something, some of the best ones that I've seen are like those guys who are married, because like there is a certain balance that a lady brings to a Mason. And if you want to really talk about Masonry and like the trestle board the floor checkered with black and white, and like what those means, like that's all a reflection of the yin and yang, the balance of life. And like I know that I can't be as strong of a man as I am without the strength of a woman. So it sounds like you wanted to kind of
I don't know if this year would happen without the help of my wife, or even the help of all the atengs. Right? Atengs, for the people who are out there, are the ladies or wives of the Masons. So, man, I had like 4 different thoughts I wanted to talk. Oh, the I Am the Mason campaign. So that's a great campaign, but I think this medium that you guys are starting right now is even more powerful, because I can talk to you in Masonic jargon that we will be like, oh yeah, only we're going to be able to know about that.
Mm-hmm.
But the people out there that we're trying to reach are just, they're applicants, or they're just curious about it. So if I talk about that stuff, it kind of shies them away from what masonry is, or kind of intimidated.
Right.
But if I talk like the homie, then they'll be like, hey, that guy's a regular dude.
Yeah, we're all regular guys. We're all regular guys in society who are, the way I consider it, we're irregularly regular. Like, you could tell, you can always, I don't want to say you can always spot a Mason, but Masons have a different composure, right? Like, we open doors for people who may not be able to open the doors for themselves, right? Like, we do things for the community that, like, it never asks for, like, hey, look at me. Like, we're those guys who want to improve everything that's around us every single day. And so, like, it's scary. Like, it's scary for guys because men don't know how to make friends. Like, we suck at it. And so Masonry kind of brings that together. And this is why, like, it's the oldest fraternity in America, but the philosophies are probably the oldest. They're timeless. And so, like, this really kind of helps you be that pillar of society. And so, like, even for those guys who are 30, 35 years old who are like, man, I need something else in my life, you need some bros, man. You need some bros to help you figure out what your life is. And we need your experiences to help us figure out where our lives are going, right? And so it's a reciprocal thing. And to surround yourself with guys who want that, man, it's an investment to society.
We all start off as rough ashlers.
Yeah, right? Absolutely.
And if one person I'm looking to the camera, if one person listens to this podcast and it brings you to Masonry, you can look back into this and be like, hey, I saw that podcast, and you guys did your job, right? That's
right.
Yeah, that's all the credit. Yeah, it's good work.
Absolutely.
All right.
Looks like so.
Oh, okay. So for those who don't know our hierarchical structure, excuse me. How would you define the role of the worshipful master within the lodge, and how do you feel you're doing charged with this grand responsibility?
Ooh, the role of the master, the worshipful master, is I don't want to be a gatekeeper, right? I want to be a facilitator. I want to help people grow. I don't want to be the person that says, I am thunder, hear me roar, kind of King Kong kind of deal. I think that being in the East is a graduation of all the experiences that you had along the line. And you're here now to make sure that the people that are before you have as much success as what you're bearing in this year, the fruits that you're bearing this year. And that's my role this year. I don't have anything that I haven't checked off that I want to do. For sure there's some other things, but I want to help the officers kind of fulfill that as they grow as Masons. From Queen June to Queen Winston, to the Queen, or I'll go all down the line. And I think, have I been doing a good job? I don't know. I think we'll know in the coming years if they're prepared, right?
Yeah.
But
that's a good perspective.
Yeah. And I think that this year, man, the officers have been rocking and rolling.
They have.
I don't even have to be there. They can just run the lodge themselves.
That's beautiful, yeah. I mean, you have, like, some of your players, I've seen a couple of first degrees, and, like, the lectures have been, like, they've been amazing. They've been amazing, yeah. And it's just like, this is the experience that initiates should have. Yeah. And then, for the Masons who are listening, if you'd like to kind of talk about the walkabout, is something that we do at GDML after the initiation. Yeah. So tell us about the walkabout.
So the walkabout is intended for the new Masons to get themselves acclimated with the roles of the office and certain kind of paraphernalias that are there that they're not used to. So the walkabout is used, you start from one side of the lodge and you meet all the officers and their roles in the lodge. And, you shake the hands of each officer just to be like, hey, my brother.
Yeah.
Right? Like just to get yourself kind of dip your toes in the pool kind of.
For sure.
Yeah.
Because anybody that, well, for all of us who have been through that initiation, it's like,
it's nerve-wracking.
Yeah, and I've heard a lot. Like I think that the best analogy I've heard was, you're drinking all this information from a fire hose, and it's like, how do you capture all that?
Oh my gosh, that's perfect.
It's ridiculously like how much is going on there. So to take the moment after the initiation, after the ceremonies,
you go back to it.
Yeah.
You meet the master. You meet the second in command.
Right.
And the junior warden,
Mm-hmm.
and then certain places in the lodge where you don't do things or you do things.
Yeah.
This means that means this.
Yeah.
And it's just a good eye-opener for the applicant so that when they do sit on the sidelines on a different degree, they know the specific roles of each one, who's doing what,
Mm-hmm.
and it kind of intrigues them too, right?
Right.
I want to do this.
Yeah.
I think I can do that.
Right.
Well,
Yeah, it puts goals in front of them and says like, hey, in order to get here, like this is the path to take it. Like we're going to start, and everybody, it is a hierarchy, but they're all I consider it like stages in life, right? You're learning one how to be a steward, how to serve, right? Like you're that person that puts out the plates and the forks, and as mundane as that sounds, even if you're a doctor, even if you're an attorney, if you're a business person, like, to humble yourselves to be like, you know what, this is not about me. Like
No.
I'm hopping
you're right.
into some timeless philosophy by some men who have taken a lot of time out of their lives to understand this, and then to impart that knowledge on myself. Like, yeah, I'm going to ask you if you need a refill. Like,
Right.
I'm going to ask you right now, do you guys need a refill? Okay, perfect.
And for the people who don't know what we're talking about, at GDML, we work.
Oh, is that what you meant? Oh, yeah. I'll take it. I'll
do-
take you up on it.
Do we stop here?
Yeah, keep
We
going.
keep on?
Yeah.
Okay. For the people who don't know, in GDML, it's been ingrained in our culture that even for the applicants, they serve, right? During stated meetings, they put in the work so that you can enjoy and kind of...
Thanks.
Oh, yeah, let's do that.
Sorry, yes. Oh,
And moving on with the next question.
Sure.
For Worshipful, Freemasonry is known for this for emphasis on the brotherhood and self-development. How are you strengthening these aspects within our lodge during your tenure?
Ooh, that's a great question. I think that with the strengthening of the brotherhood, it's like I said, it's one of those things where I fall back to, it's ingrained in your culture, right? Brotherhood is not a 9-to-5 thing. It's all the way around.
Yeah.
It's 28 hours a day.
Yeah.
And having these fellowships, whether it be just a nice barbecue on the weekend or Friday practice with the brethren or SOY on Wednesdays, all these things strengthen brotherhood within the lodge. And self-development, I think Masonry in itself takes care of that by its own. As you go up, especially in the officers lineup, your role becomes a little bit more magnitude, right, as you go up the line. And that entails you to develop yourself as a better man going up. So as when you're the senior deacon, you're obligated to learn a portion of the section, the lecture and the cipher, and as you go to 3 lights, it gets even worse. Right.
So when you talk about 3 lights, that's the executive committee within a
Right.
lodge. So if you can kind of explain what the 3 lights are.
The 3 lights are the junior warden, the senior warden, and the worshipful master. So in the absence of the worshipful master, the senior warden is the second in command, and in the absence of the senior warden, it's the junior warden.
Yeah.
And in order for a lodge to be functioning, one of these 3 lights have to be present. Yeah.
And so another thing with that is the way that it's broken down is the master obviously is the the CEO, right? Like
The president.
The president,
Right.
yes, he's a president. The senior warden is the one who is he does all the education. He makes sure that the pipeline of operations are moving, right? So he's the one that's like the general manager, and the junior warden, which is the bottom of that top of the pyramid, I guess you could say,
Sure.
is responsible for something that I find very near and dear, which is the refreshment, right? And then so when we go back to, well, why do we have these things laid out? Why is there somebody that's in charge of refreshment? Why is there somebody that's in charge of education? And why does the master, why is he there to rule and govern? The junior warden, if you're to go back through history as masons in a quarry, like the junior warden is the one that makes sure that everybody ate, right? And like that's a huge
break.
thing.
Yeah, it's
And so when we fast forward to the 1850s in California masonry, or earlier in the Philippines, or later in the Philippines, like the junior warden, for all those people who are out here in the West trying to make their millions, trying to find the gold, lodge may have been the only time they ate dinner, right? And so like the junior warden, like the love that they had to be like, hey, my bros may have not eaten today, so like I'm gonna make sure, even if I have small rations, I'm gonna make sure I take care of them.
Right.
Then the warden is the senior warden is the one that's in charge of the education. Like, well, why are we doing this? Here's what we're doing. Here's how you get to the next part. So it's a machine that runs. It is run so perfectly.
Fluidity.
The format is and it's up to us with our personalities in the modern day and age to say like, well, what is refreshment today? What is education today? How do I become the worshipful master tomorrow?
Right.
And so all those, although different from times and situations and circumstances, they're still relevant and important today. And again, that gives us an insight to who we are as men and what we provide outside of the lodge to the community. And you can't learn that anywhere else. You can't learn that with any other organization.
They come far and wide.
Yeah.
Yeah. And masonry is a place where you get a good handful or taste of it.
Right.
And I think that the junior warden, senior warden, and the master are all kind of checks and balances.
Yeah.
Each role is very significant in the life of the lodge.
It's the legacy.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah. So with that, like, what do you think the relevancy of masonry is today?
I think in California or even here, it's you don't really understand that Masons are very influential in California. You just don't see it on the mainstream media or Facebook or, of course, in our Facebooks, it's all flooded with Masonic stuff.
Yeah.
But in a regular person's, you might not realize that these committees or these institutions are headed by Masons who have a giant heart that want to help out with whatever they need.
Yeah.
Right. And I think it's very influential. I think the Grand Lodge is doing a great job or trying to do a great job with kind of being the ambassador of Masonry through social media.
Yeah.
Because I think that's a way that you'll touch, we're in a different day and age.
Yeah.
Right. People learn things from YouTube or from shorts or just short clips and stuff. Can't do things off the newspaper or even emails.
Right.
Right. Emails are coming a little obsolete in different areas of our life. But they're doing they're trying to do as best a job as they can without hurting the structure of Masonry, because you can only say too much, right?
Right.
And it's up to the other person on the other side to come forward as forward as they can.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a big misconception that Masonry is like this secret society, and like it's one of those like you got to know somebody who knows somebody, but it's really not that. And then some people think like, well, is it a religious society? And it's like, no, we're none of that. But we definitely have the faith to kneel at every altar, bow at every mosque, and meditate at every temple. Like, because we understand that connecting with divinity doesn't necessarily need worldly literature to show us how to get there. Like Masonry, in my opinion, really kind of like cleanses oneself to say, I've looked at myself in the mirror. I know what my vices are. I know what my demons are, and I know that I have to chisel away at those rough stones to make beautiful bricks in order to make this big temple, which is in ourselves, right? And so, we understand as Masons that like we can think past the social and the construct of religion and race and all. Who cares about all that, right?
Yeah,
like
we don't even talk about that in the lodge.
Right?
There's
Yeah.
not one
And
word.
politics.
It's
no
not-
politics.
nothing.
Because a lot of relationships would just be severed.
Right? Yeah.
If that was the bottom.
Because we carry on that legacy of being free thinking men.
You're right.
Like we don't need anybody to tell us you need to follow me in this way in order to be saved.
Yeah.
Like I don't need that. Like Masonry has taught me how to look at myself. I know how to connect with divinity. The symbology and the lessons taught in Masonry give us those tools to do that ourselves. Right. And so like we become less dependent. And part of that is the reason why we had the Roman oh my goodness, it's slipping my brain, with the Knights Templar and all that. Like, yeah, the Catholic Church got scared and because we knew that we didn't need somebody telling us, give us this, pay your tithes in order to do this, for you to be saved. No, like we started in 1717 because we're like, we don't need that. Like, I'm a smart guy. Like, I don't need, I'm amongst other smart men. Let's talk about life and let's get into those interesting questions of divinity and God. So,
And I think that each person that comes into those doors are, they believe in whatever they believe in, as long as it's, they
Right.
believe in something.
yeah,
right?
you got to have faith.
Yep.
And I think that I was reflecting. I don't know where I was in Mason. I mean, like in my life in Masonry, I was reflecting on the degrees, and there's 30, 50 people in this lodge, and each one has its own opinion. Each one is a different person, but this guy, this candidate, is blindfolded, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you reflect upon that, all of these opinions, all of these religions, all of these political affiliations, and the guy who's blindfolded is listening, and you really need to live blinded to all of these things in order for you to grasp the light, right? Because if you're not blindfolded and you see things, you see this guy with a red shirt, you see this guy with a blue shirt,
Yeah.
you see this guy with this symbol, religious necklace, or this guy with a religious, and you start, what's going on? But if you just, you close your eyes and you go about it and you just absorb everything, and it makes everything so much clearer.
Yeah.
More of you be able to sponge everything else,
Right.
and grow.
Yeah. And then to learn, like, from the first degree to the second degree of understanding the importance of the 5 human senses, right? Like, to close your eyes in life and to be like, what am I experiencing? What feels right? I think we often forget that we have a 6th intuition, which is intuition,
Yeah.
right? Like, we have to know how to use all of our senses to and not just our senses, but like understand the liberal arts and sciences, right? That we also teach, and how to apply those. Because actually, if you'd explain to us the kind of progression between the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd degree as far as who we are as men and how we travel those.
Yeah. So it's symbolically, I mean, I guess everyone has its own opinion or
Sure.
understanding of the 1st and 2nd and 3rd degree. It all reflects, or if all comes down to youth, manhood, and age, right? In Masonry, 3rd degree is the highest degree that you can be bestowed upon you. And as an entered apprentice, you are just a fingerling, just a tadpole in the pool, just trying to learn how to walk, kind of say.
Yeah.
And in GDML, you learn things that as an EA that you can only learn as an EA, and then it'll help you get to the fellow craft degree, the 2nd degree, and that would be your manhood, adulthood.
Mm-hmm.
And you go through that degree, and then there's certain things in that degree that you learn, and it just kind of opens your eyes to even a bigger window in life, right?
Yeah.
And it's, you know what I'm talking about, in the latter part of the degree,
Right.
that lecture.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then in the 3rd degree, in age, right? You're coming of age. You're able to reflect upon. You've ascended the highest point of the mountain. You're able to look down on your 1st and 2nd degree, and you're like,
Yeah.
this is it,
Right.
and you learn things in the third degree where you apply in life as well as the first and second degree. But this will just kind of be the kind of the finishing touches on your new house.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And I always kind of
I wish I can say things like you know, but I can't really.
Yeah. and I always kind of look at it from a military perspective, in the sense that, like, anytime we do any kind of, before we run an operation, it's always you do the rehearsal, dry fire, and then live fire, right? So here's the philosophy of what we're doing. I'm going to teach you everything. I'm going to teach you where every corner is. I'm going to teach you where every point of infiltration is. I'm going to teach you where every point of where a possible insurgent could be. And we're going to learn how to navigate through every single course of every single possibility of things that can happen with that, right? And then we move from that from understanding, just literally saying, like, okay, I'm walking in a building and pretending my hands are my weapon or my tool of the operation, going to the dry fire. Then now you pick up blank rounds, right? So, like, now you're fumbling through it. You're trying to figure out, like, everything that can go wrong. Like, you're trying to meet Murphy. If you've heard Murphy's Law, right? Anything that can't go wrong will go wrong. Right. And so you're trying to meet Murphy before you even put live bullets into your weapon, because when you get onto the objective, you should know that so thoroughly that it's
second nature.
Muscle memory,
second
nature. And that's what Masonry is, right? And it's on a bigger perspective. I knew how to be a kid. Like, I messed up a couple times. I fell off a skateboard. As a manhood, like, through my second degree, like, okay, now I have to figure out, like, what is science? What are the seven liberal arts and sciences? Why are my 5 human senses so important? And you really get to understand who you are through education. And by the time you hit the Master Mason, you're like, I got this. And I'm smart enough to surround myself with guys. And not just that, but, like, you've learned to live your life so well that at the end of the day, that when it's your time to leave this earthly plane, that you're ready. You're absolutely ready, because everything you've done has been in direct reflection of the divine, right? Because everything we do as Masons, it has to be so perfect. The angles have to be cut and squared to a precise degree. That's how it should be with our life. I know that when I talk to a client, it has to be my entire soul and heart into it, because, like, I want to make sure that client is taken care of as much as my brothers. And that's why business is successful, right? Because we don't take the approach of, are you a Mason? I'm a Mason too. Let's do business together. It's like, no, I don't care if you're a Mason. I'm going to treat you as equal. I'm going to treat you like my brother, right? And, like, if it works, great. If not, great too. Like, we could go on our own separate ways. So that's what Masonry kind of teaches us as men. It really refines ourselves, right?
I have a topic for you.
Sure.
I think crazy sometimes.
Me too.
And I was thinking, in my kind of reflection on me being the master this year and just the whole Masonic journey, right? There may be 3 steps of a Master Mason in a lodge: sideliner, officer, and past master. Kind of first degree, sideline, second degree, officer, and third degree being a past master. Because when you're a past master, you kind of, it's like you come of age and you've been through all of it already, and now you can teach everyone else down. But sideliners, you don't really, the officers' lingo or verbiage and stuff.
Yeah.
But that's a different kind of
analogy.
Yeah, analogy to the self-development and growth within the lodge.
Right.
Like there's multi-universes, I guess.
Did you ever a kind of like an expectation realities experience with Masonry? I know I have a little bit of that, because we don't know, right, until you become a member.
Yeah.
And it even made it even more impression, a really deep impression with me when I went through the whole degrees, because it's now I realize why that is really significant as far as
it's a different calling,
making good men better.
Right.
Because okay, I'm going to tell you, man, maybe you have a different version.
Let's do it.
So I never thought about the character development and there's also a mental exercise as well involved, right? And that's serious stuff. It's not you can't fake it.
No.
Right. So that was my big expectation. Reality kind of didn't match, but I, being a member and realizing it, or raised, right? We
Right.
have that term. It's legit.
It's legit.
Right.
That's the only way.
Yeah.
That's the only way you can.
Did you have
Yeah.
something similar?
Ooh, I think there was. I think what you're trying to say with me is, when I was a junior officer, I used to complain a lot of the degrees and your talkies, not all the the walkies and talkies of the degree and stuff. And the talkies was more of my barrier, and it's, you can't fake it. You have to learn all of these verbiages and every single line and every little letter.
You
and
can't fake it.
And that's.
But what does that do for you though? Like when you understand, like when you're studying, like I know that we three probably do a lot of like, we're always kind of trying to keep up with
Sure.
the ritual and,
You
and
have
perfect
to.
ourselves. Yeah.
You got to keep on going.
And so like, tell us a little bit about like your structure as far as like how do you stay so sharp?
In the car.
Okay.
Picking up the kids, dropping off the kids by myself, talking to myself.
Right.
Going to sleep. It's always in my head. Like I hear myself talking in
Yeah.
That's just.
Anytime you can,
Anytime.
because masonry, just like you said, it's not a hobby. It's not a social club. It's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
Right. Like when I'm in the shower, I know I'm doing it. When I'm walking around the pool cleaning it, like I'm doing ritual.
Dude, if I'm like holding a stick, I'm. It's like tucked in 45 degree
Yeah.
angle.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like it's a
Right.
way, but just in the car.
Yeah.
And I think that the question before that is why or how do you do it? I think that I go back to the pressure of GDML, or even if the brothers there, in your lodge, you have a succession of totally awesome officers, and they don't miss a beat on the proficiencies and everything. There's a certain standard that you have to upkeep.
Absolutely.
And
and GDML has one of the highest standards that I personally seen in masonry. And just to give you guys a background, like, so I was raised in Virginia, and I think I told you guys a little bit about it, in Mount Vernon, so right on the land track of George Washington. So everything was ancient craft and like mouth to ear, and it was very traditional. And then I kind of like floated around. I traveled South Carolina. I visited lodges in Texas, Georgia before I was a California Mason, because I know we can't.
Yeah.
But this was so. Anyways, so I've had the honor of like seeing a lot of different lodges and how they perform, how they operate, what their cultures are, and I have to say, like, hands down, like everything from the lady involvement to the children to the commitment of our officers and our members to understand the rituals. And I say ritual because it's a play, it's an allegory of what we do as Masons to help better lay the foundation of like why we're doing it to the people who we're initiating, right? Like, so it's like, okay, so how do I split my time? How do I do this? Oh, makes sense. It makes sense. So that's
24-hour gauge.
Yeah, right. So
I don't think it'll work without the help of the Atengs and the children.
Yeah.
It'll make it a lot more miserable.
Yeah.
It won't be as lively. So our city means the kids are running around, the Atengs are having drinks and have their own conversations. The men are there just doing their thing, and it's just one unit, you know. And that makes GDML family just.
I've never seen this in the dozens and dozens of lodges that I've visited throughout the United States. I have not seen a lodge that is this committed to the familial bond that we are here at GDML. And that's what's one thing that like I really want to shout from the mountaintops to anybody listening. It's like, if you were to be like, what makes a Masonic lodge? Come check out GDML, like in Sacramento. Come check us out.
GDML is, I think if you go to any Filipino, predominantly Filipino lodge, I think all of us run probably the same way. If you go all the way down to San Diego, I guarantee those brothers over there are doing it just exactly the same way as GDML. Go up all the way to the Bay. They're doing the same thing. They're all doing too.
So, and that's like, to me, that's why it's like, Masons of California, like, if you guys are wondering, because a lot of time in masonry also has a corporate side. So people are like, okay, what's going on here? What are the numbers here? What are the statistics? And sometimes I want to be like, go visit a Filipino lodge.
Do it.
Go visit one.
Visit a local lodge, whatever lodge you want to go to.
Yeah.
Then just visit.
Right. That's the standard.
Yeah.
That's the template for how to create a successful lodge.
Yeah.
The boys so we had the MGM, which is if you want.
Mga lakbay ng Gurong Mason. Yeah.
So
What are the- yeah. Go
yeah,
ahead.
no. So it's the second biggest event in California masonry, second to the annual communication, and it's
Right.
where the predominantly Filipino lodges get together, and there are hundreds of brothers who get together for a special third degree, in which we hosted a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Right, and so the ritual, the fellowship, the commitment, like I almost felt like I entered a different stage in masonry when I visited this last time in Hanford.
It's beautiful, huh?
Oh my goodness, dude! If you guys haven't had a chance to visit an MGM,
Go to MGM.
Go.
Next one's in August in Long Beach.
Long Beach, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be amazing one, and so, but yeah, so I was proud to be part of GDML, and there was like.
Yeah.
It almost felt like there was 4 families there, right? Like there's the 4 Filipino lodges in California Masonry who make up a big portion of the charity and contributions that we do
And some of the money that we raised for our medical mission came from the passing of the hat during MGM.
Oh wow!
We raised, I think, almost $600.
Nice.
Just like in
that's
5
right.
minutes. Remember, you were there at the
that's
table.
right. Yeah. It seriously. He was like, hey, he made a quick presentation about what we're doing, and within minutes, it was like at least $600.
Boom, boom, boom. Just here you go.
And
No
I think
questions
there probably would have been more if we were like, hey, just scan this QR code and Venmo me. Like,
Yeah.
probably would have got more because
That was just at one dinner. There
Just
was
one
several
dinner.
dinners that night.
Yeah.
If we did it that last night, it would have been
Right.
insane.
Yeah.
But we got more than we needed. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So-
MGM, one thing about that, you only see brethren from SoCal for that event only. But when you see each other, it's like, bro,
yeah.
dude, give me a hug,
right.
man.
Like
I
it's
miss
been
you,
so
man.
long. Yeah, we had the basketball tournament there, and so like all the was there 4 or like more lodges in that?
Oh my God, there was more. A
Okay.
lot, a
Okay.
lot more. Yeah.
So we had like a basketball tournament, and Worshie James Weiss and I think we were the designated alcohol carriers. But there was basketball tournaments going on, and it was so awesome to watch, like just different Masons like be engaged into Masonry, and like all for like to work up to this event of a raising of a
Third
new
degree,
Master Mason,
special.
like so special, and like he had all the who I consider a lot of the guys who thoroughly understand and like really know the ritual of Masonry give those degrees. It was
Oh, and the
Oh
third
my
degree,
God.
it's an all-star cast from the people who
All-star
are
cast.
performing the lectures.
Yeah.
Every
Yeah.
officer there might be a past master or a sitting master.
Yeah.
And, you could have a past master sitting in the marshals.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and every single so with all past masters, they're like,
What?
if you give a past master a job, like, hey, I need you to sit marshal, like he's gonna be the best marshal you're ever gonna see.
Don't matter.
So,
Don't matter.
Yeah.
Could be a steward.
Yeah, 'cause
Rudder works on point.
past masters love
Footwork's-
working. So if I can also add a little bit of a recommendation, like always, just keep your. I know you do. For all the lodges who are also listening, it's like keep your past masters involved. Those guys have done it. They love the work. They've showed their commitment by accepting the nomination and election to the position.
Right.
And then it's almost like once they're out of the office, like it's like, oh, I just need you as a consultant. And like these poor guys, like if you were to ask Worshie Jerry to sit in this senior deacon, he'd probably love it, right?
Do
like
it. Do it.
all these guys would like,
Yeah.
and so like just don't forget your past masters. Like those guys are a great wealth of knowledge and like.
Walking education.
Yeah,
right there, man.
yeah, and sometimes they're going to be a little bit, they're that's not how I would do it, and that this and that, and like,
Sure.
and it's okay to be like, hey, Worshie, I love you. This is my lodge. I need you to do this. I need you to
I'm
be the
game.
best at this.
Yeah.
That's it, man. Like I need you to help me inspire,
Yeah.
and like, so yeah, and there's ways, but
You'll always run into those.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah,
I might do things. You may do things A, B, C, D. I
Mhm.
may do things B, C, A, D.
Yeah.
But we get to the
Right.
endpoint.
Yeah.
And if the ritual says it's okay,
Yeah.
then
Right.
you know it's all game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Awesome. Wow, this is great conversation here. I like it.
Are we doing a podcast or are we just talking? Right?
It's both.
We're just talking, man. Yeah.
So are we gonna do the final
Sure. Yeah.
thoughts? Yeah. Worshipful, if you could give us your final thought, how would you describe General Douglas MacArthur Lodge, and what advice would you give somebody or someone interested in hearing more about Freemasonry?
I think if I put GDML, General Douglas MacArthur Lodge, into one word, I think it's family. Right? It all boils down to family.
Yep.
We treat each other as brothers, sisters, and your kids are my kids are yours. You know, if someone's in trouble, we'd help each other. If someone's in need, we're always there. Whisper good counsel. If you see someone doing something bad, you know, it's probably not the right path you want to take. And GDML is very strong. Our culture has already been laid in the foundation. So I'm doing what 10 years ago they were already doing, and I'm trying not to break anything. Like, wait, I'm a bull in a china shop.
You have the keys to the Ferrari.
I'm only on first gear. If I rev too much, I'm gonna tail whip and I'm gonna break something. Right? But
you're doing a good job. You're doing an amazing job.
I hope
like
so.
you're doing so many things, like just the medical mission, the engagement within our communication within, and for those lodges who are like, I'm just doing YouTube, or excuse me, I'm just doing emails and text messages. Like get out there and use different forms
Different
of
mediums,
communication.
right.
Yeah, use all that. Like
don't enclose yourself to just one thing because it worked before.
yes,
Maybe different now.
right.
Just open your eyes to just
Evolve.
every different avenue and be a sponge to it.
Yep.
You know, don't close anything.
Yeah, and even if you try something, even those crazy ass ideas, it's like they might work because you have bros around you that are like, I'm just as crazy as you. You want to do what? Let's do it.
Yeah.
I got a guy who can help make that happen.
You know, we've been using the TV and the projector for lectures, and that's a huge. I mean,
that's
10
right.
years ago they weren't doing that.
They were
you know?
not. No way.
Visual aids to help the brother kind of, you know, you know.
Yeah, I think those the pictures that Grand Lodge provides as far as to help you visualize those tools, the symbology within our lectures, like is brilliant. And like,
And I want to give you kudos on getting that television
Yeah,
set up.
that's my little
because we're doing the
donation. I like that.
projections, and then just like that.
Projector
it happened.
It works good, but we can leave the TV there, and it'll be able to use years from
And I
now.
can't compare, but I don't know how much other California lodges are, utilizing the visual aids.
Visual. They should be.
yeah,
It's a great tool.
Yes.
And I don't know who
agree.
is. That's a great question, and that's a very intimate kind of question for every
Right,
lodge.
exactly, yeah.
But I know that like some lodges, like down south, are using like lighting to help
In music.
and music.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah. So they're doing a lot of things to help like bring up those senses, right? Like the smells, the different like the incenses and like different things. To really help make it a more interactive experience for our candidates, because, and I know we could talk a lot about the politics of the application fees and how much it costs, and like to be honest, I think the masonry is we underbid ourselves with the price that we should be contributing to it. You know, it's probably
You get more than what you pay.
yeah. So it might be $300 to $500 to apply, right? Like, and then that kind of covers your initiation dinner, fellow craft, and then your apron and a couple of other things. But it's like,
Depends on if you get a night with a lot of alcoholics.
right?
I'm just playing.
Yeah.
Just joking.
A lot of guys who enjoy the beverages, yeah, for sure. But
The spirits.
and it's just beyond those, the accoutrements of what we receive as a master mason, the
Sure.
Bible and the apron and a couple of pins. Like, it's not enough. You know, like the price that we pay for this, for the education and to be a part of this is priceless.
Priceless.
Yeah.
It's priceless. Once in a lifetime. As well.
Yes. Yeah.
And if I had if I was looking at the camera and the guy behind it
That's your
was
camera
a
right there.
applicant, don't just go to one lodge. Go to maybe 3 or 4 and see what you can pick out of each lodge, and use that for your basis into masonry or seeing if you want masonry, and hang out with some masons, man. Hang out with Worship Gabe, hang out with Queen Elway, and see what it's about. Because you can't really know from a YouTube video as much as I want to tell you right now.
For sure.
You got to immerse yourself into whatever the lodge is doing. You know, join a fellowship, join a dinner, go on a picnic with them.
Yeah.
If they invite you for a drink, you know, just hang out with the bros.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
And listen more than I was taught before I joined masonry. Don't talk a lot. Just listen.
Yeah. Right. There's a saying.
These are old-fashioned Filipinos who are telling me just.
Right. Yeah. In my culture, in the Mexican Spanish culture, it's like you have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, right? So just listen.
Listen.
Yeah.
Absorb everything.
Absorb it.
Yeah. And do that, and you'll know.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter like how you have to. If you're interested, and I highly encourage, even if you're a mayor or a governor, to consider it, but go in there understanding that you're not the smartest guy.
Right.
You have to be humbled. You're going to have guys in there who may be a plumber, who may be a business development guy, who are leaps and bounds. And part of our growth as men is to understand that we're not the smartest guys in the room. You have to let that go.
Yep. And don't come in with any expectations you're going to get anything out of masonry.
Right.
Because you will be in the negative.
Absolutely. Yeah. It costs.
There's no materialistic that you can get out of masonry.
Nothing.
Except for a nice, pit. Or badge,
Right.
something like that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Right. But other than that, I mean, the only thing you're going to get is a better person, and it's an investment. But you can't go in there thinking I'm the CEO of this company, or I'm this and this and this. Like,
you will definitely be in GDML. You will be humbled.
Yeah.
Very quick.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah. We build service leaders. And that's what society needs. It's people to not say me. It's people to say, like, I got this. I'm going to carry these burdens. I'm going to do this because nobody else can, and I have people who can help me do it.
And we will.
And we absolutely will.
We will.
Yeah.
Nice.
So with that, man, I thank you so much for coming tonight, and I appreciate everything.
Thank you.
I appreciate it, man.
I'll see you on Friday.
I can't say yes to that. But I'll be out of town, but
Cheers.
I look forward to
many more podcasts and to your success.
Absolutely.
Cheers.
Yes. Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you both, Worshipful. Awesome.